Welcome to this episode of Stress and Purpose in Life. This is podcast for you guys who want to transform your life, live a life less of stress and more of purpose. I'm your host Stina, and today we have a very special guest with us, Mel Gilchrist, and she knows firsthand about this subject that we're going to talk about, because we're going to talk about how to master this self-sacrifice to become your own creator in life, and to really stop neglecting yourself and care about yourself and get that mindset to empower that, because you are the first priority in your life. You have to take care of that. So that, and you know everything about that. Very warm welcome to you, Mel, to this show, and all the way from Brisbane, Australia.
Absolutely.
How
Thank
are
you
you
so much,
today?
Stina, for that beautiful introduction. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me. And you're all the way over in Sweden. This
I
is
am in Sweden. I
amazing.
sit in Sweden. Yes.
The
That's
wonders of
amazing.
technology.
Amazing. Yeah. I'm so glad that you're here. Um,
Yeah,
so
thank you.
So you are in Brisbane, and it is in the evening at your place now. Or what is
What
the
was that?
time?
Sorry.
What is the time in your place now? Is it in the
So
evening or?
it is 7 p.m. here in
Yeah,
Brisbane,
yeah.
Queensland, Australia. Yeah.
Amazing with time zones. Yeah. And can you start by introducing yourself to people that don't know you before we start to get to the bottom of self-mastering this self-sacrifice subject that we are talking about today?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Melanie. Most of the time I'm called Melanie Gilchrist. I'm a holistic healer. I'm a Reiki master teacher and a neurotransformation therapist. And also, just as importantly, I'm a mum of four and a nana of three beautiful little cherubs.
Wonderful.
Family is one of my top values. I love my family to bits. And so, what I do is I guide women out of depression, chronic health conditions. Those women who've been maybe suppressing their spiritual abilities, and help them to shift to a life of radiance, joy, and confidence. Um, and I do that in a couple of different ways, well, a few different ways. And I
Yeah.
have a 12-week group program. I run women's circles because I'm very passionate about bringing women
Wonderful. I
together for
love that. That's a
connection.
good initiative.
Yeah, and it all comes from much pain in the past, which I'm sure you'll probably ask me about. So I
Yeah,
won't go into
many
that
people
now.
have
But
that. You have a trauma in life. Everybody has a trauma in life, and then you get, and it's a powerful thing to get that your purpose, and that's what you have done, right? So,
yeah,
so
that's right.
can you share a little bit about your journey, how you came to be the woman that you are today? What was it that happened in your life?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm 51 now, Stina, and I spent most of my life living with unresolved trauma. I went through domestic violence, severe depression. Some of it was caused by hormonal imbalance. Um, as a single mum of four for like nearly 20
Wow.
years. And my body kept creating these awful, there were supposed to be incurable conditions, right? Lifelong conditions, like including the depression. I was told that was incurable, lifelong. But I was always determined to find a way. I just refused to accept that story that I was being told. My dad developed schizophrenia when I was about 16 and came to me for help. My story didn't start there, but obviously that was very traumatic, for a teenager. I was the eldest child, so the eldest of three girls. So I really felt responsible for trying to help my dad
Mm.
and being there for my mum and for my younger siblings, my younger sisters. I was a high achiever, so I was doing well at school. I played tennis and badminton to, high level, and piano and clarinet to a high level, and I had a part-time job at a supermarket. Like I was
Oh,
balancing
you
all
were
this stuff
busy.
from,
Yeah.
that young age. Um, and quite a bit of trauma happened back then when I was a teenager in our family, as well as, on top of my dad becoming unwell. one of my sisters then also became very unwell with bipolar because one of her close friends was abducted and raped and murdered. This is back in New Zealand. So that was, as you can imagine, extremely traumatic for her and for the whole family.
Of course.
Was not long after that that she was first diagnosed with bipolar. So yeah, I actually started to self-destruct
Yeah.
because at that point nobody knew I also had significant hearing loss. Apparently I was born that way, and I didn't find out until my late 30s. So obviously I would have been dealing with that, but no, I didn't know. Nobody knew.
No.
Highly sensitive, I was intuitive. I loved being with animals and out in nature, and it was just normal for me to communicate with spirit and stuff. And so I took a lot on. Because I didn't realize then too, like my abilities, and I was taking on the energy, of everyone and everything, and then feeling I needed to help everyone. And of
Okay.
course, when I was at school, I felt like there was no one I could talk to about what was going on at home. My dad had become mentally unwell, my sister had become mentally unwell, and I had all this responsibility. And then I would go to school and people were talking about what happened in the weekend and, the
Mm.
party.
Oh.
I began to walk out of school
Mm.
sometimes because I just couldn't. Yeah, I just felt like so lonely, so alone, even though I had plenty of friends. There was no one that I could talk to about that stuff.
Yeah.
So I
It,
did hold a lot of it in.
yeah. I guess that this has to do with, I mean, it's a quite not, it's a shame feeling, right? To have that in you when you're a teenager. It's a shame, being ashamed of your family conditions, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, I had not heard of mental illness before until that happened, right? I thought I knew nothing about it. I was just
Mm.
confused.
Yeah.
I was just so confused and obviously frustrated and feeling helpless because no matter what I did, I couldn't help my dad. He would listen to some of what I said, because I always felt older than my age. So I was kind of like the wise one.
Yeah.
Um, and he would listen a bit, but then he wouldn't take on anything that I was suggesting. So it was
Mm.
very frustrating.
Okay.
And so, I began to self-destruct.
Mm.
I discovered alcohol, and that obviously numbed my emotions and allowed me to feel happy and confident,
Mm.
which I wasn't. I was painfully shy anyway until my later teens, really. So
Uh,
alcohol allowed me to come out of my shell, I guess, and to feel happy and feel more confident for a bit. But then I turned to attention, turned to boys, for attention, because I wasn't feeling loved at home. I was feeling neglected and invisible, and because my
mm.
parents were going through so much, and they were, my dad was accusing my mum of poisoning him, and because, well, it was, yeah, the illness, like,
Uh,
yeah, and so, yeah, it was, I've lost my train of thought.
yeah. Yeah, but of course, yeah, yeah, no, no problem. It's a very nice story, this, because you're telling something that it resonates with many people, I think, because this been with having a family condition in the early years when you're a teenager, whatever that situation is, many people resonate that it is something that you hide from people and you don't talk it about, you just don't speak out
Yeah,
about. And of course, that's
yeah, and
something
then
that creates this self-destructive behavior, and that you neglect yourself. How do you think that, I mean, for you it went like most physical, emotionally difficult, right, for you to handle that, and you took on the alcohol and everything, but how do you think, is that a common thing? Because I guess you are seeing like likewise people, like-minded people, or people in a similar
yeah,
situation, I would say.
absolutely. So many clients, and that I have worked with, and women that I talk to, they just keep it all inside, right? They keep it, we bottle it up, keep it inside, bottle it up, and feel like we have to go through life helping and fixing everyone. So we attract these unhealthy relationships, as well as, you know, from the conditioning that we had. So the ideas around love, like what love is, and, you know, that makes an emotional roller coaster then, because that's what we were shown, right? And
Yeah.
then just bottle it all up, bottle it up, and then isolate. And a lot of women do this, and not just women, men too. But, you know, then we isolate. So when we are going through really, really hard times, you know, we have all these negative beliefs around, like, maybe I don't deserve help, or I can't ask for help, I have to fix it on my own, or I'm the strong one, that was me, like, I'm the strong one, I'm the one that helps everyone else, so I
Yeah.
have to fix this by myself, you know. And it's very unhealthy. And then, of course, when you live that way, then you just, you know, you become like an emotional roller coaster. I just
Yeah.
lived on this emotional roller coaster, and I would get really, really low sometimes, and it could come on for just no reason, especially with the hormonal imbalance. So I had a type of depression that I believe is quite common in women, but not so well known, and it's called PMDD, which is short for premenstrual dysphoric disorder.
Mm.
And what it is it happens, it's a hormonal imbalance that happens from 12 days before your cycle is due to start. So because of what happened with my dad after I self-destructed, then I went on to thinking, well, I have to find a way to look after myself, because I don't want to go into, because my dad was in and out of psychiatric hospitals, and he was put
Yeah.
on medication, and, you know, and he still had the delusions
Mm.
always
Didn't
until he
work.
passed
Yeah.
away, sadly, 4 years ago. You know, he still had those delusions. So I was like, well, I don't want to, because I was diagnosed with depression. Fancy
Mm.
that at 16, right? Because it's suppression. Like, depression is the opposite of expression.
Yeah. Oh, that's a wonderful.
That's one
Yeah.
of the things that depression is. And I was diagnosed with depression. Then I was like, well, I don't want to go on medication, because look what's
No.
happening with my dad, you know, it
Mm.
hasn't helped him. And so I just avoided the medication and looked for alternative ways to heal. Well, not, I don't want to say heal, to shift the depression.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think so. Well, I know so many people do that. So many people do just keep it all to themselves, and they, yeah, have
Just
these
speak up.
unhealthy patterns that they go through life creating with. So
Yeah.
life then does become this emotional roller coaster. And when you're down, you hide away, you isolate at home, and you
Yeah.
cry your eyes out. And with this PMDD, you know, I could be doing, well, I was doing all of the things I had learned to do. So exercising, looking after what went into my body, like nutrition, affirmations,
Mm.
meditation, visualizations,
Yeah.
taking supplements, all of that. And still, I would wake up 12 days before my period was due with that heaviness in my body, loss of motivation, change of thoughts, a foggy head,
Mm.
all of that. So I felt like, two people. I felt like I was two people, you know,
Yeah.
because
So,
I'm very friendly and smiley. That's my natural,
yeah.
like, personality. But during that time, I did not feel like that, you know, and
No.
so I would hide away even more. Um, yeah, so it's a very
But that is.
devastating condition, that one.
Yeah, and I can imagine that. And if we go back to, because that is also some a kind of extra thing on top on everything that you already had in your life. But if we talk about, if you look at other people also, and the clients that you meet, I mean, do you have some kind of do you see some kind of red line there, that this is the early signs and warning signs that you have to stop treating others better, that you have to take care of yourself first and before giving to others? Is there some kind of warning signs that you have seen by other clients in similar situations, that the viewers could be interested to hear, because you are perhaps also in that situation and you need to perhaps take a step back and hear that? So do you have some ideas there on warning signs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I do have some notes here, so I have to just put my
You have
glasses
the
on.
notes. You are
Excuse
welcome to have
me
your
for a
notes listening.
second,
I
because
love that you are
yeah.
prepared, Mel. So it's perfect. That's perfect.
Because I think that many people that are, well, I have seen it too in my clients and the women that I meet, that when they are looking after others, because hey, I was a single mom, right? Because I was in a relationship, in a long one, and then I had the courage after some time to leave that, because that was because he had unresolved trauma too. So it was really like up and down, you know.
Mm,
But when I did leave that, and it was after 12 years,
yeah.
I thought, I didn't know there was any problem with me. I thought it was all him that had to change. He was doing all this stuff that needed to change, right? And it was the same with most of my past relationships, until one day, many years later, I went, oh, okay, there are patterns here. Maybe
I'm.
this does have something to do with me.
You have
I
to
do
take
have to
control
look
of
at it.
yourself as well. Of
Yeah.
course.
But going back
Yeah.
to your question
Yeah.
before, sorry, Stina.
Yeah. No problem.
You know,
Go on.
I think I have seen that so many people that are caring for others, whether they are caregivers or they're healers or whatever, you know, they do struggle to put themselves first, because um, often, like me, they are driven by this deep empathy, right? So they're
Mm.
driven by this deep empathy and desire to help others. And their emotional investment into the well-being of those that they care for can make it
Mm.
difficult for them to prioritize their own needs. Because they're so used to being that person that's the giver, like right, what
Yeah.
I was, right? And that can come at the expense of their own self-care, because they
Mm.
see others suffering as more urgent than their own. And I certainly had that pattern, which is so sad when I look back on it now, Stina, you
Yeah.
know. But I always felt like other people's needs were more important than mine.
Mm.
Yeah, I've seen that many women do feel that way as well. So, and then I think also in some cultures, there's a strong emphasis on selflessness, right? And especially in caregiving roles.
Yeah.
And caregivers, particularly women, may feel that pressure to put others first and be strong or self-sacrificing.
Yeah.
And so the idea of self-care can sometimes be viewed as selfish or indulgent,
Mm.
which can make them feel guilty.
Yeah. That
Guilt
was
is a
my next
big
question.
thing.
Feeling guilty, like, is the
Yeah.
guilt something that is common? Feeling guilty of taking
Guilt
care of.
is extremely common. And yeah, that's extremely common. And um, yeah, so you asked about the early warning signs, right? That can creep
Yeah.
up gradually, which, you know, is what happened with me. Like, it took me many, many years of, you know, looking after my children. Although the gym was always a constant for me. I discovered that when I was a teenager, thank goodness. And that's been a constant throughout my life. I love my weights and
Oh,
classes,
that's
and yeah.
wonderful. Yeah, so
Yeah,
you're
it's the
moving and moving
best.
yourself, and that's the weightlifting. That's a good one because you have to get the energy down in your body, right? Physically,
Yes, and
when
it's
you're up in your head.
yes, and as a woman, as we age, especially, like, we lose bone density, we lose muscle mass, you know, and if we don't do a bit of resistance training, then we may end up like hobbled over, you know, and then that's going to increase our risk of falls. That's just one of the reasons why I'm very passionate, as you can tell, about women
Yeah.
doing weights. Yeah. But yeah, the early signs, I guess, of, you know, that maybe burnout. It's kind of like burnout, isn't it?
Yeah, but of course it is
Can
like
be.
burnout because yeah, that's also a definition of burnout, of course, because if you neglect yourself, of
Yeah,
the energy, yeah, I think it could be burnout. Of course, you can lead to burnout. Yeah, please go on.
absolutely. And that's gonna affect you emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, like in every way,
Yeah.
right? And you can kind of become a bit disconnected from yourself, from who you are outside of looking after others.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and maybe some women feel trapped and helpless, like there's no way out, and where once maybe they felt calm.
Mm.
So yeah, and they would turn to many women turn to coping mechanisms that perhaps aren't so healthy, like smoking and overeating. That's a very common one,
Yeah.
right? Emotional eating. Just so there's so many, all the
Yeah.
unhealthy ones.
Instead of taking
Yeah,
care of the problem, you find coping strategies to help you, but
yeah.
it's not the long-term success in that. But what do you think about what daily practices can you do to help yourself to really what are the holistic healing methods that you have to recommend to like not burn out and prioritize yourself first, because that is what it has to do.
Exercise is definitely a number one, right? That's got to be number one. You must find some kind of exercise that you enjoy. That's the key, because if you're not a gym junkie like me, you're not gonna make yourself get out of bed and go to the gym every day. So don't do that.
Start moving your body.
Find something that you do enjoy, and do it every day. Make it part of your morning routine. So make it a routine, so it's just something that you do without even having to really think about it. And maybe it's just a simple walk, especially if it's a walk in nature, that is going to be very helpful to you.
Mm.
Um, my next thing I would say is make sure that you carry a water bottle with you wherever you go. So make drinking more water every day a priority. And meditation, even it doesn't have to be like 20 minutes or 25. It can be 5 minutes. Just start with a 5-minute meditation. There are plenty on YouTube. You can actually just put in 5-minute morning meditation, 5-minute, meditation for inner calm or inner peace or something like that. And you will find a little meditation. But again, make it something that you do daily.
Yeah.
Then affirmations as well. So affirmations are positive statements that are said in the present tense.
Yeah.
But you must really, really feel into those affirmations. And of course, I'm going to say Reiki because I'm a Reiki master teacher and I love
Yeah.
teaching women Reiki and helping them to incorporate that into their day, because it can really, at the very least, Reiki is going to put you into a very deep state of relaxation. But it's also
And what is
good
that for
for,
people? Sorry, what is the Reiki? For those people who don't know it, what is Reiki? Meaning,
yeah,
you say
okay,
that the
sure. So
holistic healing method, but many people perhaps
yes,
don't know it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And so it is definitely a holistic healing method that I totally recommend because it's amazing. So Reiki is a form of energy healing. Anybody can do it, anybody can be attuned to it. It doesn't mean that I'm a healer. It just means that I am a channel, and anyone can be a channel for that energy. And the energy is coming from whether you call it source or God or the universe, it's all one and the same, whatever you want to call it. So Reiki, it just means that you are attuned to the energy. So you must go through a Reiki master teacher to learn Reiki. And there are different levels. So level one
Oh,
is for self-healing, for instance. So you can use it on yourself and on your animals, of course, animals, on your food, on your environment, wherever
oh
you go.
wow.
Level two is called as practitioner level, where you can use it on other people. And then level three is like a boost in the energy. It really is, but it's not just for healing. Reiki is really a path of spiritual growth. So the more you practice it, and it will help to clear your energy, it helps with mind, body, and spirit. So it can help with pain, can help to reduce pain, helps the body to heal. For instance, just quickly, Stina, I had blood clots a couple of years ago. These, never had them before, but I had these blood
Okay.
clots in my leg. Yeah, it was
Okay.
really quite scary. They were very painful. I had a superficial one to begin with, and then I was having regular scans so they could keep an eye on that. And then I developed a DVT, a deep vein thrombosis behind my
Oh.
knee.
Oh, wow.
And so of course when you're diagnosed with something like that, it is a bit scary. But I had learnt from other conditions that my body had created in the past that I had also healed from, that if I allowed myself to fall into the fear of that too much, then that could make something really go quite nasty. So
Yeah.
rather than that,
Or
I
scary.
decided that every day I am healing more, and I'm going to use Reiki, and do all I can, just feel into that, not feel it as if my body is already healed. My leg is
Yeah.
already healed, and every day I send my leg Reiki. I had to change my exercise routine for a little while. I had to restrict my exercise, but I stayed active because that was really important. And then eventually it did heal. So Reiki certainly
Yeah.
did help that to heal. Um, so yeah, Reiki is amazing. But something else that you can do, a very simple practice daily, is just to take a deep breath in for 4 counts, right? And then hold for 4, and then gently release for 4. Just
Mm.
do this for 1 or 2 minutes. If you're working in an office somewhere that maybe it's a bit stressful, you can maybe just set a timer and make yourself do that like every 2 hours or something, just to,
Yeah.
get back into your body. Another thing that you could do is you could put your feet on the ground. It's great, obviously, if you're outside somewhere, your feet are on the grass or dirt, or something, and just imagine there are roots growing from your feet way, way, way down into the earth, and then breathe in. And as you breathe in, visualize energy and feel that energy coming up, up, up through the roots and up through your body, through your feet, through your body, energizing you.
Wonderful.
There I could talk
Yeah,
heaps
there
about
are
all of this
many,
stuff,
many
so I
techniques,
won't
but
go
wonderful that
on.
you. Yeah, but there are many techniques, and as you said, you can go onto YouTube, and you can also connect with you, of course. Many people need to hear this because it's such a hectic environment. And but I'm curious if we go back, we go off the record now a little bit. I'm sorry. I would
Yeah.
like to hear about. I'm warning you about these affirmations that you're talking about, because now you're talking about healing, because you're a healing expert, and you're talking about healing a lot. Those affirmations that you just talked to about getting healed, is that the ones that you also give advice to other people, or do they have to make their own affirmations when you're the healer?
So
Or
with the work that I do, you mean?
yeah, yeah.
So what I do to help others is I use a combination of Reiki that we were just talking about. And the first thing that I discovered, so just going back with my story a little bit, I did end up having to go on antidepressants when I was 32. And I actually went on them for another physical condition that I had, which was quite nasty. And they were meant to be an effective treatment. So I did go on them. And then at first, I found that they helped with the depression as well, right? Because up until then, I'd been like avoiding antidepressants and just using exercise and writing. I've always loved to write my feelings out. So journaling is another really
Oh yeah,
helpful way for
I
people
agree.
to process and get stuff out.
Yeah.
But then I did go on the antidepressants, and at first I was like, wow, why did I not try these like years ago? This is actually really helping. And I was a
Mm.
bit mad at myself. However, after some time, the depression, still appeared, still reared its ugly head, so to speak. And, so I was on them for 11 years, but I still always got the depression. So I was like really
Didn't help
determined
in the
to
long run.
find an answer. I thought this is obviously, yeah, it was helping for a time, but then also there were side effects with the depression. I used to sometimes get this stabbing pain in my brain, always on the left side, and it would be random. I would
Okay.
usually be out somewhere by myself, and this pain would hit, and I'd have to stop completely still. It felt like someone was stabbing my brain with a knife. It was so
Oh,
painful.
yeah.
And I know that it was from the medication because I've never had it again since I did get off the medication. But
Okay.
I also want to stress that they can be helpful. Medication can be helpful at times for people, and it certainly was for me at times as well.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
I just believe that it's not the sole solution. There's always underlying stuff, the unresolved trauma and the negative
Yeah.
patterns of limiting beliefs. Physical, like food sensitivities as well, were a big thing for me. The hormone imbalance, like, not
Yeah,
listening
how
to
you
my
eat.
intuition.
Yeah.
There were a lot of factors. And then so I was determined to wean off the antidepressants, and then I was getting there actually by making small changes to my diet and my lifestyle,
Yeah.
when a beautiful friend of mine sadly took her life. And yeah,
Horrible.
she had bipolar. She was really, really struggling. And so that just sent me into the deepest, deepest depression I'd experienced in my life. So I actually took up smoking again for a little while, which I hadn't done for many years,
Mm.
because I was just in so much emotional pain, because I was very close to her.
Mm.
But then actually her leaving, kind of growing her angel wings, I guess, like she was a beautiful soul, kind of fired me up even more after I worked my way through the grief, which should take I think about 18 months in total.
Okay.
Um, Even so, the last time she was at my house, she saw all my supplements in the cupboard and she was like, "Oh my God, Mel, I couldn't be bothered with that shit." And she used to eat McDonald's and, other junk, because she hadn't yet learned that connection between what we put into our bodies and how it affects our thoughts and our behavior, our mental
No,
health,
that's a
which
very
I had
important.
started to see. I'd
Mm.
started to see that through my dad's illness, you see. I'm very grateful. I learned a lot through my dad's journey with schizophrenia. It was
Mm.
schizophrenia that he had. And there were many foods that I don't want to use the word should, but yeah, he shouldn't have put into his body, because I noticed he would say, "Oh, I've just had some ice cream. I've got this pain in my head." But, there were certain foods. And
Mm.
then with my own journey, there are certain foods that are trigger for me, and many that are for other people too. They just haven't yet learned that,
Which there are.
and
Yeah.
so my friend was like, "I couldn't be bothered with that shit." And I said, "Well, one day I'm going to get through this and then I'm going to talk about it." And she said, "Make sure you do." And
Okay.
so I always remember that, and then just after she passed, I had actually registered for an 8K fun run. So I was doing a bit of running back then, but it was literally 3 or 4 days
Mm.
later. And I thought, no way can I do that. There is no way I can run like in this state, because I was just a mess.
Oh.
And I remember, for some reason, I had this massive pimple on my face too. I think because all the extreme grief, I was just a mess. And I had my 4 children on my own. Like, I had a lot to deal with, but I did it.
Mm.
Something inside me, and that something inside me I've always had. That's something inside me that made me be strong, that, when I had to be. Although there's been a disadvantage to that, I finally realized the flip side of it, right? And there's something inside me that just kept me going, going, going. No matter what, I'll find a way. I always knew I'd find a way. And I did that run and I made a PB that day. I made a personal best, because I was talking
Congratulations.
to her in my mind. I was saying, "This is what you do, Joe. This is what you do. You use exercise, you push yourself, you get out of your head, you get into your body, like, you just do it." I remember coming across that finish line and I made a PB and I was so proud of myself. Like, I was just,
Fantastic.
yeah, it was amazing.
Great
So
job.
she really, made me more determined, I guess, like,
Yeah.
to find a way. And so going back to that, what I was talking about with the food. So the first
Mm.
thing that happened for me, that was helpful, talking around the nutrition, was that I was working in an office. It was my first part-time job, and they were in the health and fitness industry. And they asked me if I'd like to train as a weight and wellness coach. And I'd been listening in, because even though I'm quite deaf, I'm very nosy. And I've been listening into their meetings and stuff, and I was intrigued, and I was like, so at that point, I
Uh,
was nearly off the antidepressants. I'd been weaning off them. And that was the final step in actually getting off them, was
mm.
the changes that I made based on my learnings when I trained as a weight and wellness coach. So that way of eating that I learned then was the last notch, last thing to get me off the antidepressants, because it improved my mental health so much.
Mm.
And that So I love to use my own personal experience and some of that training, obviously, as a weight and wellness coach to help other people who might not yet be aware of that connection, which is vital between the food that they eat and their mental health. And it's also to do with the gut, of course, because the gut is a second brain.
Gut
and
health.
if the gut's not healthy, then you're not going to be able to think very clearly and stuff. So that was very cool. So I started working with women in that way. And then the next thing was the Reiki. So I then learned Reiki, and then my beautiful friend was my master teacher, and she said, when you teach Reiki, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm not going to teach Reiki. But here I am, 10 years later, I'm teaching Reiki. And so sadly, she passed away.
Sorry. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, and so that was the next thing. So the physical, obviously, which also affects the mental, the weight and wellness coaching. And then I added in the Reiki. So the Reiki helps to clear energy, blockages in the body, to balance the systems of the body, to put the body into a deep state of relaxation, to calm the mind, which many people desperately need. And to heal mind, body, spirit. So that was the next step, I guess.
Wonderful.
And then, of course, life threw more challenges my way, and my family and I were nearly homeless. I got the blood clots. I went through a relationship with a guy who had 8 children, so we had 12 children altogether.
Wow.
Yeah, we lived together for a year, and that was a crazy experience.
It must have been really some kind of logistics challenges every day. Logistics challenge.
Exactly. Can you imagine? And one thing I will share, which is quite funny, and you can never forget this. I love to write poetry. I once wrote a poem about the washing machine who had the washing machine being a monster who eats socks. Because what person doesn't put 2 socks in and get 1 sock out, right, of the washing machine?
Same problem.
So can you imagine? Yeah, everyone has this problem. It's like, where do they go? Where do these socks go? So I wrote a poem about this. But can you imagine the socks, matching the socks with that our large family, extra large family? I remember sitting in the bedroom, and we had wooden floorboards, getting all the massive mountains of socks. Can you imagine? And putting them down on the floor and going blue, white.
Oh my God!
Oh my God, there's a pier.
Full-time job.
It would be so exciting when you actually found a pier.
Oh my God.
Anyway, so that didn't really work out, and it led to me becoming even more so that was another big dip for me. I looked amazing on the outside because I was still going to the gym. I was dancing 2 nights a week. I was playing volleyball with him and the kids, and I was going to boot camp. So I was doing all this stuff, and obviously there was a lot to do, with that many kids, right?
Yeah.
But on the inside, I was getting really unwell because I wasn't listening to my intuition, which I had learned to do. I was not getting much sleep because there was so much to do, and he was a runner, so he'd get up very early in the morning. I couldn't get back to sleep. Plus, my kids were unhappy. They didn't like, the situation. They were struggling, so it was just really bad. So and we eventually broke up, and there were several factors there, but it ended up being a blessing in disguise, because after that, I remember, I share this in my story, I remember my eldest daughter, she's nearly 23, drawing this picture, and it said, "Stay happy." And I remember there was a lot of yellow in it, and she put it on the wall, and I just remember that so vividly. I'm like, oh my God, I really have to do this. I really have to get myself well, properly, and the kids in a good place and everything,
Yeah. That's important.
And then COVID happened. So I navigated that on my own with my 4 children, but it was a blessing in disguise because it meant we got to spend all this quality time together, and I rediscovered the activities that brought me joy.
Yeah.
And that is something that many people forget what were the things that you used to do when you were a young kid
Yeah.
where time passed like so quickly because you were so in the moment, you know? And I think, especially with the internet these days, there's so much online, and everyone, cost of living is higher, and everyone's in do mode. And
Mm,
sometimes we get so caught up in all the responsibilities and being so busy
yeah.
that
That's
we forget to come back to who we are as a person.
yeah.
Who are we really? What do we love to do? What do we love to do that we can then use to help other people, to give to others? You
Yeah,
know, so
because
that was what.
yeah, because that's my next question. Because I mean, you have your journey, and everybody has their own journey. But what do you have for advice for people to reconnect to their dreams and the true desires? Because when you're caught up in this
How
kind,
does somebody get back to that?
yeah, to your true self and your true passion in life. Because if you're
Yeah.
caregiving
Well,
and you get really lost in that, and how do
yeah.
you tell me about something that when you were, what did you enjoy when you were young one, but something to do with the purpose also. How do you follow your dreams when
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Firstly,
yeah,
you have to know that your dreams were put there for a reason. We all have different dreams, and those dreams are in us because we're meant to make them happen. That gives me goosebumps in saying that, but it's true.
I get also goosebumps. Yeah, I can
Yeah,
I agree.
you're meant to go make those dreams happen. So that's the first thing I want you to know, that you're meant to make them happen. They're not meant to stay dreams.
No.
The next thing is that, yeah, you're busy. We're all busy. But you need to allow yourself some time to have solitude. You need solitude and you need quiet. So you need to take yourself away from that busyness. Somehow you need to allow yourself to do that, and you need to set boundaries and tell other people, this is what I need. I need to take time out. I need to have some time alone. And you need to do that regularly, and you need to self reflect.
Mm.
You start to do that, you know, then you will remember those things. Or if you didn't maybe have things that you enjoyed when you were a kid, there will be things now that are maybe, you know, they're popping out at you, maybe on the internet, or maybe when you're driving around and you're like, oh, okay, that sounds interesting. So
Yeah.
make a list of those things and start looking into doing them, actually taking action to doing them.
Yeah.
And you know, when I
Good
say
advice.
reflect, I mean, ask yourself questions. You know, just write down whatever. So do a bit of a brain dump, just just let it all out, and then ask yourself questions. You know, and for me, it was not difficult really, because writing is something I've loved since I was like 5 when I learned to write.
Mm.
A bit of an imagination. So for
Yeah.
me, that was one of the number one things, and reading as well. I love to read,
Yeah.
and I love gardening, and I love animals and nature, getting outside and connecting with like-minded people.
Yeah.
That's an important step for everybody as well, to find your tribe, which is one of the reasons I've created the Woman's Circle and what all the women love about
Yeah.
coming to the Woman's Circle. Because you tend to think, oh, there's nobody else like me, no one will understand, you know, I'm a weirdo or I'm a misfit or whatever. But it's just about finding other women who are on the same vibe as you,
Yeah.
and coming together in person, because we all need that, the actual real life connection.
Mm. And I agree with you. It's so important what you're telling me about this find your tribe, because when you are true to yourself and who you are, and you accept that, then it's easier to find your tribe, because then you like you and me in our book project, they're like-minded people, right? And it
Absolutely.
and we all have I talk about start over book, and we all that are in this book series, we have this kind of we have made our journey and trying to find our true selves, and now we are there, and now we find our tribe.
Exactly.
And that has
And then
happened to me so
sometimes
many
that's not
times.
easy.
No, it's
Oh,
not.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you out there. There's a bit of a
No, it's no
time lapse
problem.
here.
No, it's no problem. And we have to round it up a little bit now. So I was like, because we talked about this being your creator, like being your creator in life. So what is the mindset shift that needs to, if you are a caregiver in your mind and body and you're always caring for others, what is the mindset shift that needs to be done to really get to the point that, okay, now I have to do something about this?
Yeah.
Is there
Well,
one kind
number
of tip
one,
there?
you've got to start to firstly, instead of saying to yourself, oh my God, I have to do this, I have to do that, maybe shift that to go, I get to do this. And look for little parts of your role that you do enjoy, little parts that you can be thankful for a start, right? But the number one after that shift, I would say is instead of seeing that everything's happening to me, oh my God, all this stuff is happening to me, look for the lessons. How is it happening for you? What can you actually
Yeah,
learn?
good one.
What can you learn from it? Because there are always lessons, and it might seem like it's like the worst thing that could happen in the world, whatever you've got going on right now.
Mm,
But
mm,
there's a greater plan behind that. Whether you believe in God or the universe or whatever you believe in, that energy has a greater plan for you. So although it might feel like something's been taken away or something awful is happening, there will be a reason. It will be revealed to you
yeah,
in time. So keep the faith, and and just know that there is something greater about to be revealed.
wonderful. There's a really wonderful end sentence to this amazing podcast. And I agree with you. I agree with you on every point, because you have to, but it's a transformation. This journey is a transformation. And if you are in that position, that what you're talking about is you feel like everything is happening to me, then you have to think about it that way, because it is something that you learn from. And because my journey and your journey, I think, for like, if I look at my own journey, sitting here where I'm talking to you, I wouldn't have seen that 20 years ago. No way.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
then it makes your traumas your purpose. Your and that is to see that what you happening to you is something that gets you stronger, and you get more committed to doing something else, because
Yes.
it's kind of wake up calls that you have, right? Some kind of
Yes.
wake up calls, and
And
that's,
it
I
just
agree with
makes
it
me think,
totally.
it just makes me also think, Stina, is that sometimes it doesn't matter how much work we do consciously, there's unconscious stuff, like, subconscious, like the patterns, the conditioning that we have learned. And for me, I realized, like I said, um, it was when I left that relationship, with lots of children,
Yeah,
then I really thought, oh my God, like, because I tried so hard to make that work, because I really wanted my kids to see me in a healthy, loving, committed relationship, because I felt like before then I felt like a failure as a mum that many times, when the
yeah,
depression, especially with the depression, that was one of the main feelings I still remember, is I felt like I failed my kids. They should have a mum without depression, like, and I felt like I needed to fix myself, and why I wasn't good
yeah,
enough, and all of that. And then, so when there was that relationship breakup, and I finally went, oh, there are patterns here. I guess maybe some of this does have something to do with me. There's something going on inside of me that I need to shift,
yeah,
and that was a positive, and it wasn't easy, and it took a long time. And it took a lot of writing as well to get it out. And also I reached out to a coach at one point. So I had learned that I did deserve help, and that sometimes, yeah, I did need support. And so I learned to reach out for that. And
mm,
then, I discovered the neurotransformation therapy. And that was, again, so that was another
mm,
step up, so it's like the
yeah,
mind, body, and spirit all came together. And for me, I discovered that that was what I needed, the holistic approach. because there were many causes to the depression, physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, that there were, the solution was a holistic approach. So I discovered the neurotransformation therapy. So that helped me to unravel a lot of that baggage that I was still carrying, that I was creating from, which wasn't ideal, you know. And so there was stuff that was holding me back. And so that is now what I help people with as well, the neurotransformation therapy.
And I
So
think
it's
that
really
is a new that is the next, because we have to round it up now. I have to be we have to round it up. Yeah. But what I would like to end with, because that is another topic we can take on to the next podcast. We can have another podcast about that. But thank you for being here and having this amazing conversation with you. You are such a spirit. I really love to talk to you, and I think that
you're welcome. Thank you.
you're such the advice that you have given to people here is so universal and so important for many people to listen to, either if you're not spiritual or not. I think it has to do with you as being a human. And I really enjoyed our talk, and thank you so much for that. And yeah, for the people that are looking at this and think I resonate with this, they get connected with you, Mel. Do you have some kind of Instagram, some kind of
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Stina. I have loved chatting with you too. Yes, you can, if you'd like to connect with me, I'm on Instagram, and you can find me at Melanie Gilchrist Reiki, and Facebook also, Melanie Gilchrist Reiki.
Great. Fantastic. And if you viewers want to have these kind of conversations and listen to this kind of episodes more, then please subscribe to this episode and also the whole channel, because we're getting more into this spiritual, the holistic approach, and also, as you know, other topics as well. We have inner growth, we have sustainability and social development inside ourselves and in the external, the relationship between the external and the internal environment that we live in. And it's becoming more and more important now as that environments change. So thank you again, and be strong. Be not too strong though. Be purposeful.
Exactly. Allow yourself to feel. Yeah. Thank you so much, Stina. Thank you everybody who's listening today. Yeah.
Bye for now. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
See ya.